Hi guys, me again. I promised yesterday that I would do a video today regarding my Orange is the New Black legacy experience. Apologise, I keep promising to do my hair, but I just end up either forgetting or just sort of sitting there going, I'll do it tomorrow. Which I've done for the last couple of days. I'm like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. So anyway, let me take it back. It was round about March time, I think it was. um, where they were highlighting the Orange is the New Black I'll get my words out, seventh season, um, and it was also going to be the final season. Now they did some promos with some of the cast where they were talking about Orange is the New Black, about their characters, and then they handed it over to the fans. If the fans can make a video of them suffering from mental health and what the Orange is the New Black did to help them, to make them understand, etc., etc. Now, at first, I didn't do it because I was getting a bit anxious because I thought to myself, well, if I do it, what happens if people laugh? What happens if people start to slate me? Just, oh, look, he's put a voice on just to do this video. Because I do get anxious. I put up a front when people say, "Is that your real voice?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, of course it is." And then when I get home, I'm just all like going, "Oh, how do I convince people?" But then I plucked up the courage when I saw a couple of people do theirs, and they put theirs on Twitter under a hashtag Orange Forever. So I'm just going to move. Oh, there we are. So they did the hashtag Oranges Forever. So I decided to do mine, completely forgetting that Twitter has they have constraints with videos unless it's a link. But if you go straight from video to Twitter, then you sort of basically time's going to be quite precious. So my video was about 3.5 minutes long, and it would only allow me to do about 58, 60 seconds. So I watched the video a couple of times and did it. I thought to myself, I know what to say. I know how to say it now. And I had my flat cap on, and goes completely against my rules because you're not supposed to have house hats on inside. But on this occasion, I decided that I needed to, because it was worse than this. It was terrible. So I did that and put it on Twitter, put the hashtag on, and I actually felt slightly liberated. I had a sort of bizarrely just this weight off my shoulders, and I thought to myself, okay, it wasn't too bad. I watched it a couple of times and saw that it had been viewed a few times itself, shared it around, but mainly just kept it on Twitter. Didn't want anyone else to see it to begin with. I then completely forgot about it. Completely forgot, even though every day I was on Twitter, I was watching the trailers for the seventh season. I'm just going to have to say season 7. I can't, for some reason, my tongue wants me to say seventh. So season 7, and I was interacting with a couple of the cast. I'm not going to say who they are because basically they don't need to. They don't need to be named. My phone rang around about sort of late March, early April. Didn't recognize the number, but it was a mobile number. So I thought, oh, okay, perhaps someone has got my number, they've changed their number, and decided to ring me. So I said hello, and I spoke to this guy who told me he was from Just So Films, and told me that he'd seen my video, and that he was working in collaboration with the producers of Orange is the New Black and Netflix to do this fan-based interview about mental health, and that he was actually interested in my story. and would I be interested? Now, there was a part of me thinking, probably not. But I wanted to listen to him, so I carried on. And then he mentioned that it would be at a studio. So my anxiety was. But so I just carried on listening to it. I didn't end the call there or anything like this. This is going to sound really strange, but my mind sort of changed almost immediately when he said that I would be paid. Now, I didn't do it for the money. I did it to help raise issues with mental health. The reason my mind was changed with the money was because it was just one of those things. It was my mind literally said, "Go and just do it," and then he said, "Oh, by the way, it'll be paid." It was that split second. So, in my mind, I was going, "No, no, 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 no," and then just as he stopped talking, my mind went, "Actually, let's do this." And I was just about to say, "Yes, I would be definitely interested," and he went, "And you would be paid this amount." And I was just like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll be interested." Made me sound like a bit of a money grabber, but you know, I was planning. I was always going to do it from, well, half a second before he mentioned the money. And so he ended the call there, and then said, "I will phone back, or it'll be one of my colleagues. It'll be from this another studio, but we work in collab. We are basically the same." So yeah, no worries, that's fine. So I got this email to say that I'd been shortlisted. Got a phone call, and basically it was the same guy, and he basically asked me questions, and I was getting nervous. I was getting really nervous now because the questions he was asking were sort of more about Orange is the New Black than mental health. But then I then realised that actually the questions he was asking was about mental health, because he was asking me how I felt, my favourite storyline, how did it make me feel, and things like this. And I started to get more comfortable with the idea of doing this. So I was still having sort of reservations. I then, so I did that, answered his questions, and he told me that I probably wouldn't hear from him again unless it was like a sort of an emergency. But this was the plan, and he told me what the plan was about, that they were going to take pictures of my eyes and pictures of my mouth and do sort of like the opening sequence of Orange is the New Black. So I was looking forward to that. I think, oh, that sounds awesome, and it was going to be a couple of hours. Brilliant. Then got contacted by another producer who'd spoken to the gentleman, and it was quite intriguing actually, because she asked me the same questions, but in a sort of a different way, and wanted to know why this person was my favorite character, why this, and who could I relate to. Now, if you've seen Orange is the New Black, you know that it is female heavy, and that majority of the male characters there are guards or warden or love interests of the inmates. So I told them the truth. I said, look, I can't relate to any of the female characters because I'm not female, but I can relate to perhaps their issues. So when the character has sort of an anxiety issue, I can sort of relate to that. And it got to the point where I was thinking more about it, and they asked me the question. Um, so I've completely forgotten. Um, so yeah, hang on. I'll come back to that. I'll try and remember that question. Oh, that was it. Yeah, they said that. Why did I start watching Orange is the New Black? Now I told them, sort of said I didn't watch it to begin with. I thought it was just going to be um, another drama comedy, or a dramedy, um, and it sort of wasn't my type of thing. I didn't have any interest in watching a comedy about a bunch of women in prisons. But I was dating a girl in 2016 when I was living in Swansea Marina, Less said about her, the better. But she actually got me into watching Orange is the New Black. And we watched almost the first season together and a couple of episodes of season 2. We broke up, thankfully. I don't know what my tongue is doing today. It wants me to do thus instead of fuss, or the other way around. So I carried on watching and watching and watching, and I got to the point where thinking, actually, this isn't just a dramedy. This is mimicking real life. These things are happening in prisons, not just in the US, but all over the world, including the UK. Now, we vilify villains and criminals, and in some cases, rightly so. But when they've got the backstory that it's some of the backstories, it is for drama. It is to make you feel sorry for that character. But those backstories have had to come from somewhere. And you think to yourself that these people aren't necessarily put themselves in a situation, but been put in a situation by their husband, their boyfriend, or and then they're the ones that have got caught, and it's the partners that have got away with doing whatever. And they asked me the question, so, why did I start watching it? And what do I feel about Orange is the New Black? And how has it helped me with my mental health? So I told them straight. And my answer was, it helped me a lot because even though I was working at the time, I was still having issues. I was still having days where I didn't want to go into work, which I've obviously explained before. There were days where I would have a rough day at work and I would just sit at home, think about going for a walk on the beach, and then deciding, no, I'll have a cup of tea and I'll just fester on my sofa. But then I'd watch Orange is the New Black and thinking, but these girls don't have that opportunity. They can't turn around and say, oh, I'm having a bit of a bad day today, so to make me feel better, I'll go for a walk on the beach. They don't have that freedom. They don't have the freedom that I can turn around and say, oh, I'll have a chocolate bar. I'm gonna go to the local shop and buy myself a chocolate bar. Prisoners don't have that, or these ladies didn't have that liberty. They have got use of a commissary, but if they haven't any money in that commissary, they can't just use the commissary, can they? And as I was answering that, I realized that actually how lucky I was that I could have a bad day. I could just sit on my sofa, wear my shorts, wear my t-shirt, drink a cup of tea, have breakfast, have lunch, take my medication, play Football Manager or play any other football game or any other game that I've got, watch TV, watch Netflix, rewatch Orange is the New Black, things like this, whilst they don't have that freedom, they don't have that liberty, or they don't have that in them because it's not part of their sentence, or that's not part of the prison system. Now, there are obviously some prisons out there that do have, TVs, TVs in or the TV rooms and things like this, which and it was in the Orange is the New Black, but it wasn't sort of to watch any particular program. It was timed, and you had to watch a program that was available, basically, or a film that the prison authorities were willing to purchase the rights to. Now, there's some of you out there going to go, oh, but prisoners deserve to be in prison, and they deserve not to have all of this, which in a way I agree with. I completely agree with. But once again, it's one of those catch-22s, as I say. These ladies, some of them didn't deserve to be in prison, but were in prison, and obviously they got the same daily punishment as everyone else who did deserve, anyone else that did deserve to be in prison. So I knew I answered that question, and it got me thinking more and more and more of actually how easy my life technically is. I've got a job, I can walk around, limited walking, but limited mobility. But if I wanted to on a day off, I could just throw money at a train and go into London, or go up to Peterborough, or get on a bus and I can go to different places. But these girls couldn't, and it started working in my head, thinking actually I've got freedom that they don't, and I've still got the issues that they have, or some of them have. And I've been thinking about that actually a lot. So after all this, it was just only emails and emails and emails, between myself and the producer, and then finally a date came along. We're going to invite you into the studio to do this on this particular date. Brilliant. Then it got moved back, which is fine, no issues. I got the email on the day where I thought to myself, do you know what? I've got the money. I'll buy my train ticket now. I managed to read that email probably about 20 minutes before, because I was just about getting ready. And I thought, oh, let me just read my emails just in case I've got something important. And I saw her name pop up, and different days. Oh, thank God for that. So the day came along. I travelled. Eventually found the studio. It was behind a locked gate, but it wasn't very well advertised. But my maps on my phone worked. Walked in, and the professionalism was amazing. I wore I think it was a flamingo shirt. I can't quite remember if it was I think it was flamingos. And I was literally introduced to the producer that had been talking to me, and then a top producer, who I think it was like her boss's boss or something like that. Introduced myself. He was, and then other people were introducing, and then basically it was like, get yourself into makeup and get ready. And I was talking to the makeup girl. We were whispering, and so she was this close to me, and she was going, "Are you nervous?" I was like, "Yeah, really nervous." She said, "Is this your first time in front of camera?" I went, "With makeup, yeah." I said, "But I've done it a couple of times, sometimes unwillingly, or unknowingly." And yeah, so I did the shoot, and I was I remember sitting down, and they were having to swivel the chair around to get to the right height, because at one point I was like this, and then I was like this, and they eventually got me centralized. Then they told me that I had to look straight at the camera and try not to sort of do too much of this, which is quite hard for me because it's something that I consciously do, because I don't like eye contact, too much eye contact, because it makes me really, really nervous. It feels like someone's just sort of staring at you, and sort of come across rude. So I sort of flickered off a couple of times, just try to do it with just my eyes, but they got it perfectly in the video, and that was it was a really good experience. And then I had a really nice lunch afterwards. But one thing I will say is, when I sat down, and after I did the interview, I heard this guy running from one side of the studio near the makeup guy, near the makeup girls, and he come running over, and he said, "Dave, Dave, 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 Dave," and I was thinking, "Oh God, what have I done wrong?" And he grabbed hold of me, introduced himself, grabbed my hand, and shook my hand, and he said, not to sound bad. I was like, "Oh God." He said, "But the camera loves you." I was like, "What?" He was like, "The camera absolutely loves you." He said, "You're vibrant. You hold yourself really well. You sat up straight. You sounded perfectly." And he said, "The camera loves you." Oh, thank you very much. So that's my experience of the Orange is the New Black. I still obviously have anxiety. When I got the email yesterday to say, "This is the link," well done, thank you very much. I was nervous. I was thinking, "Oh God," and my anxiety was shooting through the roof. And I was I was okay yesterday. I was having a good day yesterday, and I watched it. I'm thinking, I can't see me. I can't see me at all. And then all of a sudden, I appeared, and then I heard me, and yeah, I was impressed, and I'm glad I did it. And I think that if you have a chance of doing anything like this, then I would advise you, whether it's paid or not, just go ahead and do it, because it's not necessarily about making money, but highlighting the issue at hand. Well, that's me done. That is my talk. I was only going to be about 10 minutes, and it's 20 minutes. So, apologise. It's probably me just waffling on. So, thank you very much, and toodle pip.